All right. Well, we reconvene on this morning after, somebody had an outdoor skate last night. I saw that on social media, and I'm in there slaving away, working hard.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was more enjoyable on my end to watch that comeback, or probably yours. You're around with the kids, hanging out at home. But Bruins come back to win after being down 3-0 again to the Washington Capitals. And when I ask you this, I don't mean it negatively, but yeah, they deserved to win, okay? But did they deserve to win? I mean, it's just amazing what this team, and I know we're early on in the season. I know it doesn't mean everything is yet, but what a comeback. But, are they playing with fire here, Razor, or is this just this team being this team right now?
They're playing with fire in the fact of going down 3-0. I think last night had a different feel. I think 2 nights ago they came out, got to their game right away. Last night was the opposite. Washington got to their game and really took it to them in the first. Really, I mean, the offside play was very close. That makes it, technically they gave up 4 goals
right
in the first half of the game. So they're playing with fire in that respect. However, to watch this team do what they've done the last 5-6 years in not giving up, the top line leads the way in that. These superstars do not mail it in like some guys around the league honestly do. 3-0 on the road, 2 games in a row against the top team. It's easy for some guys to mail it in. And, it's not my night. I'll get through. Maybe we'll get a power play goal here somewhere, but this game's over. And these guys don't believe that way. They don't think that way. And they lead the way. David gets his 2 goals and puts them right back in the game. So all of those things, they're not playing with fire. That's we've seen that before. We've seen it over the years. And I think that's a positive going forward, that this is the same kind of group with the same mentality without having those big names on the back end.
And yeah, once, David gets the team back into it. And I don't want to say I didn't think they were good, that top line. I didn't notice them as much early on. Like you said, maybe it wasn't their night. Marchand had that big collision with the boards, early on in the game. He seemed to be able to work through it. But you know what I mean? It was just kind of like
5-on-3 was a stinker.
They were so stationary there, man.
Oh, they were so far away and spread out. It was like, it was hard to watch.
It was, because you can see it from afar. And again, the game is simple when you're sitting on this side, right? And you're like, move the puck, move your feet. Move the puck, move your feet, dude. And the thing is, all of them are just saying, well, I'm going to get it and shoot you guys, and then you watch, the type of thing. It wasn't pretty at all. But you're right. And then they find a way. And so Pasternak scores twice, but then it's different guys coming through. That's great. I mean, Lauzon's play, coming from the middle left over to the right, Charlie going for the clapper, but yet pulling up, and then Lauzon darts down the left side, and he gets on that outside left edge and somehow finds the little, I'm doing it here. I'm pretending I'm Lauzon right now. I'm a geek, but he goes to the backhand and he makes his pass that beats Oshie, because he just goes inside the heel of his stick, where he can't control it. He loses his man, and because Smith goes stealth. He goes back. He sifts away, wide open. That Vanacek doesn't know what the hell's going on right now. It's 3-3, and he's like, oh shit, right now, what's going on? And then Carlo comes through again with that big, the big bomb coming, and he literally walks into it. There's no better feeling. We saw Wagner have that a few games ago in that slot area. Remember when the puck came to him and he walked into it? You get so much more on the puck. Here, Carlo got so much more and rocketed upstairs again. This was again, I use this term, but an all-around effort that you don't. The best part to me, Razor, you don't got to say it was one guy or one line. Everybody came through.
That's right, and that means it's not lucky either, right? Mm-hmm. It wasn't like they got lucky that David scored 5 goals in the third period and put them on their back. It was a full effort from top to bottom on both the forwards and the defense. All 6D contributed in a big way. Carlo, we know it. The bomb he took a bomb in the first as well that went off the bar.
That's right.
That was a rocket as well. So he's shooting the puck. He's feeling confident. Charlie McAvoy, the last 2 nights when they've gone down, to watch him assert himself offensively has been impressive. I thought more so in the first game against Washington, but the same thing last night with that fake slide. When they get down, he pushes offensively, and you see the talent he has on that side of the puck as well. So that's been impressive to me. That was impressive last night, I thought, and a full comeback effort. Maybe not a full 60-minute effort, but a full comeback effort from the Bruins.
Speaking of McAvoy, I was talking to our producer. It was Sean last night, and we're not doing the game Wednesday. It's on NBC Sports, but Friday I said, we got to put together a board of pick the other 4 or 5 top number 1 defensemen in the league, and in their 4th full year, what were their numbers? Their time on ice, their this, their that, all the important numbers. And I think Charlie's numbers will look very favorable, or at least, meet a lot of those guys. It's a long way of getting to this. Like, he's reached legit number 1 status, not status of some jackass analyst who's sitting there and saying, hey, he's your number 1 defenseman. I'm talking about elite number 1 defenseman in the National Hockey League, that type of level that every team that is successful has to have.
I agree. I give the Bruins a lot of credit in recognizing that, because they obviously saw that. They obviously saw what we're seeing in Zaboral and Lauzon and Carl. They saw all of these guys being able to step up a little bit, but it starts with McAvoy. If they don't truly believe that McAvoy can elevate himself to a number 1 guy, they're doing something different than what they've done. But they've seen it, and Charlie's proving it. He is as good of a defenseman that we've seen on a nightly basis against all the other teams in this division. And there's other guys that, we got Shea Weber's, there's Roman Yossi's, there's other guys, but if you're in the top 10 on the planet as a defenseman, that's going to help your team in a major way. And that's where Charlie is. He's right there. He's cracking that top 10 of defensemen in the NHL right now.
Yeah. You know what? I'll put together a list, and we'll do it. Are you in on Friday, or is it Barry still? All right.
Barry's in. I'm next week.
You're next
Monday,
week. All right.
Monday.
All right. Well, we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it here on Morning Brew. It's just interesting. I'd be curious to I'll get your list of who you think maybe the other top 5 guys are, and just to see where they were at this point in their career. Everybody talks, and I love Seth Jones. I love him. I'm just using him as an example right here. Seth Jones, right? And justifiably so, right? He's going to win a Norris. Well, let's look at his numbers from his 4th year. He's not much older than Charlie. I mean, he's right around the same. I'm never good with remembering those things, but Charlie's right there. A few things. Trent Frederick, kid showing balls. I mean, he's shown smarts. And we talked in the past about what he wanted to get after. But, people at times talk about fighting not being an important part of the game. And I always say this, the staged big guy to big guy fight, that I'm fine with it not being in the game anymore. I am. If it means somebody's health to be okay, then I'm fine with that. I know it's their choice, Razor, but
yeah,
right?
No,
okay.
It's gone. Yeah.
This, though, was a legit momentum fight, meaning Wilson is his right, is considered maybe the most overall toughest guy in the league. I know Char is the toughest guy, right? But you know what I mean. I mean, guy who's doing it normally. He didn't want to go the other night. He decides to go tonight. Nobody's going to chirp Wilson, really, relatively speaking, right? From the bench, they might, Marshy might, because Marshy's Marshy, right? But but because he can get away with it, and he's earned it. But Wilson decides that he's going to finally go with Freddie, because now his team is losing momentum. And you're sitting on the bench watching that fight. You feel bigger. You do when you're the Bruins, and you say, way to go, kid. Like, that makes you feel like, hey, we got momentum, and we got it even more right now.
That's right. It didn't turn it, and Wilson does a good job being a veteran guy, giving the young guy a shot, because there is a code in there along those lines as well. He can't duck Frederick for the entire season,
but he
can duck him in it. Because he needed to change the momentum for his guys too. He wanted his guys to wake up, and for Frederick to stand in there, it's a draw at best. I mean, they both started throwing. They didn't hold on. It was a good little tilt, as they used to say. And for a young guy that gives confidence to everybody, like you say, to play a little bigger, just to know you have a guy in your team that is willing to go in there. There's not a lot of guys on the planet that are willing to go in there, and Trent is showing that he kind of enjoys it. He really enjoys being part of the team. He really enjoys being there for his teammates first and foremost. You can see that on his grin and the way he talks and just the character he has. So for him to be able to do that, stand in there, all right, we have a guy that if need be can do this. So that's a big bonus for everybody on that bench.
I wonder, and this is where this whole not being, have access to players and everything sucks. I wonder if he just in the past, even at morning skate or in the locker room or the bus ride over, talked to a guy like Kevin Miller for, hey, ever fought Wilson, or, what do you recommend if I do? And this, I just wonder, because there's nuances there, because while Freddie's a nice sized kid at 6'2", 205 or so, Tom Wilson is 6'4", 220. And he's experienced, and he's long.
Frederick needs some technique. You're right. To that point, he can't just go in there and overpower anybody that he's really going to take on. Any of the guys that are going to take him on are probably going to be bigger, or at least at his level, size-wise. So, yeah, he's going to need technique. I'm sure he's gone to Kevin, would be, I suppose, the only guy really in the Bruins room right now. He's probably gotten stuff from Chara in the past. Chara knows how to use technique. He Roman Greco wrestling, all those leverage points. So I'm sure Trent's done that, and it showed. He got in there. He knew what he was doing last night. He wasn't just throwing. He got in there. He had a good grip with his left hand. He had a good position there. So he knows what he's doing, and he can handle himself. And that should give everybody else on the team a little confidence in that no one's going to really bully them around, push them around.
And it's nice to know that Kevin Miller doesn't have to be the only guy, too. Now, it wouldn't surprise me at all, and I don't have my schedule open in front of me when these two teams meet again, if Wilson and Kevin Miller found each other at some point, if only because now Kevin Miller might be like, hey, all right, the young kid.
I want some.
Now here you go, right? Me in the sense of when he's ready, because Kevin is such a smart fighter. And hey, how did you watch fights when you were a goalie? Meaning, every goalie has a different way. Some guys stand up and they're rooting. Other guys I've seen, don't watch it as much. They kind of focus on their own. I'm curious. I just thought about this. How did you watch fights?
I watched. I didn't have I got tired of the buffoonery, the staged one. Yep. The one that was the good ones were the middleweight ones where you knew that was personal. You knew there was a couple guys that didn't like each other, and you knew it was coming from the morning skate on, and you were looking forward to that throughout the day. Those ones were the best. The ones where it was the two 6'8" guys, 250 pounds that were going to play one shift in the early 2000s. That got a little tiring, even though it was the big boys. It just felt like it got in the way of the game for me at a point. But no, certainly the ones where it was passionate and guys were personal and there was history with it, those were always fun. And you took a side as a goaltender on those ones.
Yeah. It's amazing. Sometimes it's not amazing, but it's interesting. I've seen goaltenders sometimes while fights are going on. They're perched up. They're watching. I'm talking while they're on the ice. And other goalies are just kind of skating around and whatever in their own end. And, everybody.
The ones where it's like there's 5 fights in the first period, that would have been the one I'm skating around like, oh, my God, can we just get on with this game? Let's play hockey here and get out of here.
Keep your focus. Hey, Chara scores for the Caps. Made him feel good. I know. He's no dummy, obviously. He knew there was a lot of hockey to go. But while the game is a team game and he's going to say all the right things, that had to feel good for him. Didn't you think? I mean, it had to feel extra good for him.
Absolutely. He was looking for that. And it's funny, Billy, the hockey gods work that way. I would have been more surprised had he not scored these first 2 games against the Bruins. It seems to happen when all the Hall of Famers, they find a way to get on the board against their old teams that they've been on in a long time. And Zdeno was able to do that last night. I thought that was the worst goal that Jarl gave up. Even though, we know Zdeno can shoot the puck and it might have moved a little bit. It was from long distance and he saw it all the way. So, but yes, Zdeno accomplished over 2 games, getting it out of the way, playing the Bruins, scoring a goal. But at the end of the day, I think you see that play from Lausanne, and that was my first thought was, you know what? I don't know if Zdeno can do that. And that's a reason why you have these young guys in the lineup to make plays like this. And that doesn't take anything away from what Zdeno's done or what kind of a player he is. I just think the way the game's being played, you need more of those guys than not.
Let me give you Lausanne's line in the game. We know the 1 assist. We talked about it. Played 18-34. 2 shots on net, 4 hits, 4 blocks. So he showed that real nice full package defenseman. Now, while we're never going to see, I shouldn't say never, I don't think we're going to see 20 points out of the kid.
No.
But it'd be nice if he did. But 15, yeah, over an 82-game season type of thing, 4 goals, 10, 11, 12 assists, absolutely. And a penalty kill guy, right now, still top 5 shorthanded minutes, average short in the NHL. And the confidence. And let's not forget, last year he played an awful lot on his offside. And so that's why I think coming down that right, he's shown the ability to play both, right? Yes. And he came down that right side. It was a nice interchange up top on that play, and he looked incredibly comfortable. There was no panic in his game, just like we haven't seen panic yet from Jakub Zboril. Yeah. Maybe I should stop saying it's early because we're only in a 56-game season. And what game were we at? 9? Yeah, it was game 9. Isn't it? It's still early, and these kids are still young. But the good news is Zboril and Lausanne right now have each had 1 game where you're like, oof, not good.
Yeah.
But you know what? It wasn't bad either. It just wasn't good. And so it does say a lot. And Jay Leach should get a lot of credit for helping get these kids mature and better. But we're still a long way to go in a full season, and we haven't even, touched those doldrums of the mid part of the season yet, right, where it gets harder. But these kids are showing a headiness that I think is important to say. Maybe this proves we all need to always take that deep breath and say, take an extra year in the minors, even if you're a first or second round pick. It's real important.
For some guys, it is. And maybe that's the case for these 2 guys. And yes, it's a 10 games. What we're looking at. It's a small sample size. We saw Lausanne do it last year, though. He came in and you put all of that together. You put the tape of Zboril in the minors last year, being one of the better defensemen in the AHL. So, and he's got a first round pick, and he's got some prodigy. So. I think like to your point, it's a shortened season. There's going to be some hiccups. All guys are going to have bad games, but these guys have played enough good games now that it's in them, and that they can be consistent over a 2-week basis. And yes, they're going to have a bad week. It's inevitable, especially with what's going on in the world right now. They're all going to have bad weeks, but the fact that they can get to their game and be consistent is a huge thing that we weren't sure of a month ago.
What I've been happy with is that, and this is an art form for defensemen, and I was being a forward when I played. I play defense now because that's what you do when you're an old guy. It's easier. But they aren't putting themselves, Zboril and Lausanne, in bad spots upon retrievals to get hit and hit hard. That's such a key thing, and it's such a hard thing to learn for these guys. Some have it instinctively and others don't. They've got to learn it. Otherwise, they get run over and they get injured an awful lot. But we've seen Zboril, I think, be very elusive at times. And Lausanne, now Zboril will look to handle the puck out of his own zone more than Lausanne will. Yeah. That's more of his game. But to Zboril's credit, he hasn't been getting hammered yet. I mean, he hasn't. And that's something that can't be overlooked, because if he was getting hammered like that, he'd be out of the lineup. Either A, he'd be injured, which we don't want, or B, he'd be turning the puck over regularly, and he hasn't done that.
That's a great point. The one play made in the third period I loved. He went behind, wheeled up all the way, got it in deep. To your point, those defensemen, if they don't have that instinct, if they don't have the vision, they get hammered at the red line. Right before they're trying to dump it in, they got the one leg up, and someone corks them, and it comes back the other way. Or they don't get the puck deep. they're going this way, the puck's going this way, and that's not good news for a defenseman. And we haven't seen that. Every time he's wheeled, he's had great vision, his head's up, he's making the right seam pass, or he's chipping in and doing a good job getting it deep.
Yeah, I liked it. All right, a couple other guys we'll run through here. Carson Kuhlman in the lineup, hardly played, 6 shifts, 5.5 minutes. Bruce moved him from 2 games ago on the right side with Krejci. That's where he began. Then he sat him for a while to the 4th line. I think who doesn't love a guy like Carson Kuhlman? I mean, we know what he is, but there's no question he needs to do more when he's in there with the puck. He's got all the energy in the world, but Bruce, here in this game, obviously didn't find a way to play him more. With a few injuries up front, especially on the right side, the Kasha, Studnicka, DeBrusk, they're going to need more from him. They're going to. Anders Bjork ended up getting to the 10.5 minutes. He had 3 hits on his docket. I mean, the hits change from rink to rink here and that, but what I'm liking about Bjork, he's finding a way at least to be significant enough on the penalty kill right now. And that gives him just another element to his game. And while it might not be his overall comfort zone, good for the kid to at least find a way to, he getting 10.5 minutes. That's better than, no 1.5 minutes.
Which no 1.5 would probably be if it wasn't for the penalty kill. So,
right.
He'd be down in that Kuhlman area. And yeah, you find a way to be effective as a young guy, a 4th liner, in a 3-0 game when you haven't shown any, ability to score. He has offensive ability, but he hasn't shown that ability to find a way to score. You're not playing. It's very simple. You're just not getting on the ice when you're down 3-0, and especially 3-2. So there's just not a lot of ice, but he's found a way to be effective. I thought he's skating really well through the neutral zone still. He's moving around well, and I think if he can just find it, I think he's better off if a couple bodies get back in the lineup. He just settles in on that 4th line role that we saw last week. If he can settle in there, I think he's going to be more effective.
Yeah, well, I think it's going to be a full week. I don't know Studnicka's situation. He isn't skating there. DeBrusk skated back at Warrior on Monday, so that, probably means a couple of days. But, again, now the question becomes, and I don't know state to state and what the NHL is doing, you're talking about 2 games in Philly, Wednesday and Friday. Can DeBrusk go there without having to quarantine, et cetera? That's what we talked about a few morning brews ago. I'm not sure, and I don't even know if he's ready for that. So we'll have to wait and see. What were your thoughts on the Capitals after 2 games watching them?
Same old Caps. I was thinking same old Caps last night. The inability to close out a 2-3 goal leads, and this wasn't against the New Jersey Devils. This wasn't against the Florida Panthers or a team that they don't have a rivalry against, that they don't recognize is going to be challenging for a first place spot in the division. To not be able to close those 2 games out, I would, again, we go to the analogy of looking at it the other way. If the Bruins had given up 2-3 goal leads against the Washington Capitals the last 2 games, we would be sitting here running around with our hair on fire, wondering what's wrong, how did they not close that out? And I got to imagine that's happening in that dressing room behind the bench. Laviolette must be, tearing his hair out, recognizing that they should have 4 points. The Bruins should have 0 points after those 2 games. But the Bruins ended up getting 3 points, and they got 2 points in 2 games. And I get it. There's some players out, Kuznetsov, but everyone's got players out. They had the game. They had the game last night, especially to kill that 5-on-3 off and still not come out with any points in that game is a backbreaker. And you got to imagine a 4-point swing like that's going to make a difference in the standings at the end of the year.
Yeah, if my hair was on fire, it would be that'd be a very quick fire. It would be.
It would hurt.
Yours would be like a forest fire. I mean, that's the big difference. Ovechkin goes from about 14 minutes in the first game to 23 minutes in the second game. I did notice him more, but I didn't say like, oh my God, he's crushing people, running over people, scaring the hell out of people. No points in the game, and he was a -2. He had 5 shots. Backstrom, who was phenomenal in the first game. Look, he was good in game 2 as well, but he wasn't the same there. I thought the Dowd line was excellent for 2 periods against the Bergeron line, controlling play, doing all that. Listen, I know people want to. We talked a lot about it. I think the Bruins did get a break, and this is the last thing I want to talk about here before we wrap it up. On that first goal, because it probably should have been a neutral zone face-off. I've talked to 4 different people involved in the officiating. 2 are this way, meaning yeah they got it wrong-ish, and 2 are like no they got it right. Remember, the puck was shot from behind the red line all the way into the zone, but there was a delayed offside that happened super quick in the meantime. It nicked off a defender and Dylan, but it wasn't control. The goaltender, Vanacek, covered it up, and then it led to what the linesman ended up. The referee blew the play dead because the goalie covered it up. The correct play probably would have been the linesman blowing the play for an immediate, this sounds funny, delayed offside. But you blow that. I think that's the ideal call right there, because you've got guys darting into the zone attacking the goalie, and they really don't want that to happen normally. But the Bruins, long story short, they took advantage of that. And it wasn't like intentional by the officials. They screw up too sometimes. I think they made a mistake. Probably should have been in the neutral zone. And the Bruins that's where that first goal happened. But as a player, you got to play through that, right?
You do, and as coaches, I'm not sure if the Capitals were even recognized it themselves. Were they losing?
No,
they were losing their minds a little bit.
Did.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think post game.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah. Post game. I mean, you got to take it out on the refs for sure. I'm sure he was yelling about the offside goal too in the first after the game. Yeah. You're going after everybody, right. But yeah, again, great teams, great players find a way to take advantage of that. Not every. That happens once a week in the NHL, a bad call, icing, bad call to each team, and they don't usually take advantage of it. Usually, the faceoff gets won by the Capitals, it gets out of the zone, and no one even remembers or thinks about it ever again. It just happens that Marchand, Bergeron, Pasta, they find ways to take advantage when they're given a little crack in the door, they kick it open, and they did it again last night. Really impressive.
Yeah, it was impressive. That got things going. All right, good stuff. The 2 of us today, I don't know if you can see, I'm wearing my DPD.
The memo.
Yeah, and you got the Mass State Police. So I think we're hoping if we get pulled over today that we've got it covered.
I hope I can dig my car out there in that wet snow. It's not going to be fun.
Do you have the snowplow attached to the Prius today?
I might need it.
Folks, Razor has a Prius that has got to be 11 or 12 years
2010 old. Prius.
That he bought when he was in Dallas. If anybody's been to Dallas, you understand the amount of driving that you have to do there. The long drive. Everything is a long drive there. And so you bought it there, and it's still running, which is impressive as hell. But when you see him tooling around with the mini snowplow in front, that's the Canadian.
Give me a wave. Give me a wave today.
All right. Well, good luck. I did it, by the way. I warned my neighbors. I came home at 11 o'clock, and I'm like, sorry, guys. I'm taking out the snowblower, and thank God that I did. All right. That wraps it up for Morning Brew. Be good. But Wednesday's game in Philly, we'll talk on Thursday morning.